Hey there, my name is Andrew Street. I make $75K per year, more or less, and currently have a few different businesses that I'm working through. These videos that I'm creating are more of like a documentation and documentary of like the things that where I'm at, the stages that I'm thinking about, the things that we're trying to achieve, and ultimately a way to look back once we found it. So if that's interesting to you, obviously I've got other videos where I'm starting to do this, trying to create more content where I'm not necessarily telling people how to live, but or telling people what to do with their business, but necessarily just reflecting on my own. Maybe some of that'll come out in the future, but for right now, I'm just trying to figure it out as well. So I'm a little bit further ahead than most entrepreneurs, especially ones who are just starting or have side hustles. So please do leave comments down below. More than happy to help, especially if you guys have ideas on videos. But otherwise, I'll just kind of get into it and kind of reflect on, the last like week or so, talk about like things I'm thinking about, where I'm at in my head. And yeah, so I think kind of to get into it right away, for the vacation rental management company, summer's coming, which is good. We had one of our biggest issues, and I think I've talked about this before, is that with trust accounting, there's cash flow issues of like when cleaners are billing us. So it's happening like out of period. So like our expenses and our revenue are not matching up right now. And like that's causing a lot of issues in the business. And so like issues around cash flow specifically, meaning like we're having some trouble with making sure that like, because if we only make some revenue this month and then we get all of the invoices in the next month, we don't want to be dry, right? We don't want to run out of cash. And I think like that's something that like this business specifically has issues with. And it's more of like a nature of the business thing. And then the other piece of this is that we're coming out of the lowest season, which is typically like January through, even April now. So I used to say just March, but I feel like it's April now too. And so we're coming out of that, and so there's like low periods and swinging expenses. And if you guys have ever thought about it, like management in itself is super accounting intensive. There's a ton of accounting that goes into it, especially if you're doing trust accounting, which is something that we are doing. And so, yeah, I think that's been complicated, and I'm trying to figure out ways to kind of come around on it. Trying to figure out, how can we cover ourselves better in the future so that we don't ride the waves, the highs and the lows. We want to be able to just be smooth throughout the year. And I think that's something that most people don't talk about. And so something that we had implemented now is we've started to have more of like a monthly like look back on how we're performing and where our expenses are going to, and keeping a better track of like the accounting. And something we had identified earlier was that, we had 46% of our revenue was in people that we hired. Now, something that's fantastic about that is I literally don't work in the business because we have a good team of people and a good amount of people. The downside of that, though, is that the business struggles from a profitability standpoint when you're in the low season, right? And so as we're kind of coming into the high season again, I'm thinking about putting money into marketing again. I'm thinking about boosting it, because Lead Simple, which is like a CRM, came out and had this interesting information about how like most property management companies lose 20 to 30% of their clients, which I think is probably pretty true if I'm being honest, because like it doesn't always have anything to do with like how you're performing or what you're doing for them. It's just a lot of these clients aren't loyal, and that's part of it. We're a business to consumer type of business. A lot of real estate investors and people like to think that they're business people, and the truth is they're just consumers. And as consumers, they're going to be fickle, and they're not going to care about, necessarily what you have going on in the business. They're just going to care about, can I get a cheaper price? And property management's kind of a commodity business anyway. And so like you really have to show how you have more value and why people would want to work with you versus the other way around. So that is where my head is there. So shoring up the expenses, gaining more revenue. I think the answer to that business is more and just building out a better reserve. So that's going to be kind of the focus for me, kind of going into this for the next little while at least. Let's talk about the marketing business. Marketing business is crushing. We are currently at 11 clients. The only issue that we're having right now is when you get started with a meta ad campaign, what happens is if you haven't had one before, the bank or your credit card company might not like that you're spending money on meta, so it'll like disable the payments. And so we've had that happen with a couple clients where like they're not allowed to spend, and so like that sucks because we've taken them on, but they're not even performing. As of right now, we have a little over $300,000 in ad spend managed right now. In the first, let's see, we started in December, January, February, March, April. So in the first 6 months. So, and really we got most of the clients in the last 30 days because like in the last video, we changed up how we did our offer. So we created an irresistible offer that people are loving. We're having a ton of really good conversations, taking on more clients. Our goal is more ad spend. So it's not necessarily to have more clients, it's to have more ad spend and help the clients continue to get consistent amount of leads over time. And so that's exactly what we're doing, but it's hard to do that if people can't even get off the ground and get started. So those are kind of some things that we've been working through. There's better expectations that we could be setting to as a company. So I'm pretty big on like making sure we all understand what comes next and what we need to do. But this is one that's kind of in a gray area that's kind of outside of our court. Not a lot that we can really do there for that. So, but outside of those, I mean, we're getting leads. We're getting consistent leads. And the truth is, like, we started this business doing retainers, and now we're just performance based. And because we're so young, most campaigns don't optimize until like 60 to 90 days, meaning like they need the first 50 leads to come through. They need Tim, Jerry, Terry, and Larry, and then they need to find more people just like each of those people, right? And so like as you build out your meta ads, what happens is it gets better and it gets better and it knows exactly who we're going after. And so, and in the background, what we're doing as a company is we're focusing on gathering all of our leads, and so that like in the future we can start supercharging new clients with all of this data that we're collecting. So like we're collecting it so that we can apply it, so we can do like lookalike audiences based on a 1% demographic of people who own properties or are looking for management, right? Like that's what we want to do, and then we can just focus it on that one area wherever we're marketing for, and that's truly the game changer in this business. And so I'm using a lot of like AI automations to do that. Again, my favorite thing about it is that we can bill real time using AI and automations. And so we're doing that. So when we deliver a lead, we're billing for it. And we're creating processes in it. And I've had a pretty good time already just like seeing how this comes across. Now, I'll admit, I'm a little addicted to seeing all the leads that come across and being like, yeah, we're making money on every single one of these, and thinking about how much we're making every single day. And I think I have to be very careful of that, because the truth is like our goals are so much bigger than that. And we're really trying to get to a place where, I mean, if we can make it to $1 million within a year, that's fantastic. And in my mind more recently, I've been thinking, everything's always 60 to 90 days away. And the truth of it is like, yeah, everything is always 60 to 90 days away, because every time you take on a client, they're 60 to 90 days away from like finding all the success that they're looking for too, right? And being optimized and getting better over time. And so these are the things that like kind of push me and motivate me. And now it's like, okay, well, we need more clients for sure. But really, if we can perform for our clients and they spend more in ad spend, that's really what we need. So more money under management. And so I would say like, as we kind of do that, we're going to find success as well. So, and narrow in our metrics, narrow in our processes. Right now, I'm looking at hiring out a few things. So I've identified in our business that I think we need 5 hires. We need a full-time appointment setter, full-time salesperson, account manager. We need a make automation specialist and like an onboarding specialist or a media buyer. Now we have a media buyer, we have an appointment setter, we have a salesperson. So really we just need the account manager and like the onboarding specialist, but it's kind of the same thing. And so I've pulled somebody over from our vacation rental management company to kind of do that, who's a part of our leadership, and that's pretty exciting. The main thing though that I'm thinking about now is like, how can we continue to get better at the ads we're doing? Because we already have a media buyer. He's crushing it for us. He's doing some good stuff. But the truth is, like, there's constant changes and things that are happening. And so how are we promoting him to do his best, and how are we staying accountable to continue improving in the ways that we need to? So another piece with this business is that, so we serve property management companies, which is awesome, but they're local. And so something to know is, like, with marketing, the more specific you are, the more your lead cost can be, right? And so if they only have 50-mile radius of what they manage, then like that's quite small in comparison to being able to service the entire US, right? And so I've started thinking a little bit too about what the next, so right now we're doing property management and I love it and we're collecting all this data, but maybe in the future we're going to start looking also at like helping out other services. So like services that that service property managers. So right now we have a client that does eviction services. And so it's like, that's super interesting, right? Because he can service a large area and we're able to get him a ton of leads at very low prices. And like, they just wanted consistent lead flow, right? And so now we're seeing like a bunch of leads coming through for him, which ultimately for us, we want to see more leads coming in at quality. One of the ways that we differentiate ourselves actually is that every 2 weeks we're meeting with all of our clients and we're asking them, how's the lead quality? How are things going? Are you guys closing? How are those conversations? And so it's been very interesting, I think, to kind of see how that has progressed, to see, really just to see like the lead quality piece is big, and we just want to provide more. Because what ends up happening in most of these businesses, and most businesses don't realize this, but like you only have, like, most people buy leads from other places, so like Thumbtack or something like that, or like for property managers it's like allpropertymanagementleads.com or something, and it's like they're not exclusive, they're barely even qualified. Like a lot of times these people are just handing you a phone book. And so what we do for people is we build the machine for them and they own it, meaning that like they're not leasing anything anymore, they're not worrying about other people going after their leads. Like, these are exclusive to them. So now it's just, how can we help them perform on that too, by providing them with a CRM, with conversion rate optimization, that kind of thing. So that's probably kind of it for today in terms of like the things that like I'm actively thinking about right now. I'll probably have some more thoughts next week in terms of like how that's going, but the main thing that I just have to remember is to continue to have patience, because the goal here is not the next 60 to 90 days. The goal is not the next year. It is the next 5 years, the next 10 years, and beyond. And so right now I feel like I'm probably always behind, but the truth is that, we're building something, and the other side of the wall is gold. So that's enough for today. Leave you guys with that. If you can, subscribe, leave a like, and we'll find you in the next one.